Dr. John Morelli. You all received his background when you received the invite, but just part of it I just wanted to share it. John is a passionate speaker who has inspired audiences nationwide by sharing his insights into our God-given potential for healing and uncovering where true health originates. He runs a clinic here in town called Anchor Chiropractic. Full disclosure, I am a client of Dr. John's, and I can tell you that I have never felt this good in a long time. John is married to Alli, and they have a child that he will describe, and a dog as well that is part of that picture that you saw. John is just an incredible brother, and we're just so excited to have him speak. So would you please welcome Dr. John Morelli.
You guys hear me? Cool. Thank you, Rob, and thanks. Hope everyone's having a great afternoon so far. Hope everyone's enjoying lunch so far too. Excited to talk to people about health. Like Robin was just saying, my name is Dr. John Morelli. I'm a chiropractor here in town. I am a husband to a beautiful wife, Dr. Alli. I am a father to a wild at heart son and my son Leo, and yes, we have a fun, loving dog as well. I have been working with people on their health for over a decade now because of a decision that came after years of thinking, and that was followed by many years of hard work that I'm sure many of you guys can relate to. Now, my life changed in an instant on one sunny summer morning when I was back in Michigan. I was training for a triathlon this summer. I was 19 years old. I was going for runs all the time. I would ride my bike constantly. I rode my bike to work. I rode my bike to see friends. And what I did not realize at that time was that every mile ridden on this bike was slowly making a bolt in the front tire looser and looser and looser. So on one fateful morning, I was riding my bike up and I was directly in front of some friends when the front tire falls off my bike, the front forks climb into the ground, I go over the handlebars, I land on my face, and my entire body stacked up on top. I had a concussion, I blacked out. I do not remember the accident. I don't remember quite a bit before or quite a while after. I was conscious the whole time. I had long conversations that I have no recollection. When I finally came to, I was in a car headed to the hospital. I'm headed to the hospital where they cut off my shirt. I get put in a scratchy gown. I'm standing in front of an x-ray machine. I'm cramped up in an MRI machine, and eventually, when laying down on a table in front of some way too bright lights, I am told the bad news. I am told that I will need to have a rod put into my spine, that I should have some segments of my neck fused together, and I should expect to never have full mobility ever again. Now, has anyone ever been told that you will never be able to do what you love ever again? That was the ending for me. And at that point, something awoke in me. I knew that something was wrong, but I couldn't quite describe it. Now, on one hand, I had medical teams that had told me this is what I needed to do. And I had been trained that we should always listen to our medical doctor, and everything that they say is correct, and we should never question any part of it. But on the other hand, I kept thinking of my dad. Now, my father worked very hard for my whole life, to the point that when I was very little, I did not see him very often, and nor did I spend that much time with him. Maybe some of you know what that is like. My dad was constantly traveling for work, and in that travel, he was eating fast food constantly, and he overall didn't take care of his health. And at one point, he had been told that he was going to need to have his gallbladder removed. Has anyone ever been told this? So my dad decided that that's not what he wanted to do. and I asked him why. And he said something that has stayed with me for the rest of my life. He told me that if the good Lord put it in me, who am I to take it out without trying something else first? So he completely changed his life. He started eating very clean. He went for a walk every single day. And within the next couple of years, he lost over 50 pounds. And lo and behold, his gallbladder works perfectly fine. Now, as I was laying on that table in the hospital, being told by someone who doesn't know me from anyone else, besides for an image that he's looking at on a screen, that I should make an irrevocable change for my entire life, I said no. And I really started to push as to where this was coming from. At that point, our family decided I should go see a chiropractor, and I saw someone who had worked with our family in the past. And he listened to me better than any other professional I'd ever spoken with. Went over my full health history, completely understood the accident, what I went through, and I started to see him multiple times per day for a few days, then multiple times per week, and then again I was 19 years old, so I saw him for the rest of my summer vacation. At the end of that summer vacation, not only was my pain completely gone, I had the curve completely restored in my neck, my mobility came back 100%. I could probably move better than I could even before the accident happened. But more importantly, I was given a new view on health. I was given a view that you can make choices with your health. You are responsible for your health. And in fact, no one is as responsible for your health as you are. Now, the longer I started to spend time with this, I was aware that something was wrong with healthcare as a whole. Because healthcare as a whole was really built around, how do I cover up a symptom, instead of how do I find the root cause of the problem. And if that comment doesn't make sense to anybody, I'm going to paint a little picture for you. Let's say you leave here and you go home. And as you get to your house, you see smoke billowing out beneath the front door. So you run up to that door and you kick it down. And as you do so, you get blasted with heat. And smoke starts coming out to the point that this smoke is so thick, you can't even breathe because you're coughing so hard. And this heat blasts you in the face. So you walk inside and you start to hear a beeping and a blaring that's getting louder and louder. Now, thankfully, as you were getting home, a fire truck pulled up to your house. And you happen to see 4 gentlemen hop off this truck, grab a ladder, run into your house, clang that ladder down, walk up the steps, take the smoke detector off the wall, take the batteries out of it so the beeping stops, hand you an ice pack so you're taking care of the heat, and then gives you a mask to make it easier to breathe. Now, is anyone happy with the actions that were just taken? Right? I've had this conversation many times with people in the past. I've never had a person tell me they were happy with it. Because what was missed there? They never put out the fire. Now, this is a over-the-top, pretty dramatic example. But I'm just going to ask you a question. Has anyone in here ever had a headache before? All right, I can raise my hand. It's true for me too. Now, for a very long time, whenever I had a headache, I would go to a particular room in my house called the bathroom. And I would walk up to a particular cabinet called the medicine cabinet. I'd go to the medicine cabinet, and I would grab Tylenol, ibuprofen, Advil, and I would feel better. Has anyone else ever done this? I'm not going to make you feel bad for making that choice. I've made that choice too. But I've also had blood work done many times in my life. Anyone else ever had blood work done? My blood work has never said that I have a deficiency of Advil, ibuprofen, or Tylenol. So in all of these situations, are we really just covering up the problem and covering up the symptom instead of finding why it's there to begin with? Now, unfortunately, that thought process when it comes to health is called a pathogenic model. It's built around purely trying to cover up a symptom instead of finding the underlying cause and reason that it's there. Now, when it comes to healthcare in the United States today, when it comes to a crisis-based care, there's nowhere else I would rather want to live. If you were to fall and break your arm, I want to be seen by an American doctor. I want to be taken care of here. But unfortunately, we also have an expression in America. We say things like, if it ain't broke, we don't fix it. And unfortunately, when you take that thought process of health, and you start that thought process in general, and you use it for your health, you're leaving yourself into a rough spot. Because now, when you only go to the doctor when things break, you are leaving yourself to get worse and worse. Now, sometimes people just don't realize how often we do take care of things. Like, you get an oil change before your car falls apart, right? You go to the dentist probably every 6 months to make sure things are moving appropriately. We commonly take maintenance steps there. Now, unfortunately, by taking the step of we don't go until we're broken, we've led ourselves to this point. In the United States today, people have never been sicker than they have before. This quote comes directly from the CDC in 2009. For the first time in the history of man, children born after the year 2000 are not expected to live as long as their parents. When we live this life of not honoring where things come from and not taking care of ourselves, but purely trying to cover up a problem, we're leading ourselves to people getting sicker and more broke down in every aspect and form. So it's gotten to this that I've really started to analyze and really think and really look at the numbers of why we are in the healthcare crisis that we are today. And I have 3 leading reasons why. The most important is people don't take responsibility for their health. I'm speaking with a room that's about 60 to 70% men, so this one is very much pointed at you guys. I could not tell you how many times in my professional career a man has told me that they don't book their healthcare appointments because their wife does it for them. You have completely given away your responsibility to somebody else. You should stop up on that. If people don't tell me things like that, I commonly hear, I live this way because my parents lived that way. We're all adults in this room. Let's be honest. You probably don't do everything that your parent has ever told you to do, and you don't purely live in that lifestyle. You can change at any period of time. That, or they say things like, well, I didn't do it because my doctor never told me about it, or I didn't do it because my insurance wouldn't help me to do it. Now, that's a for-profit industry, so that's a different conversation, but we're going to be careful with how much responsibility we give to other people. No one is as responsible for your health as yourself. The other reason, I think, the other main reason, is that we have a wrong definition for health. What I mean by that is if you were to leave here and you went outside and you asked a random person, hey, are you healthy? They'll probably say, yeah, I'm healthy. And if you ask them why, they'll say something like, I'm healthy because I feel fine. Which to me is one of the weakest statements we can make. There's a lot of married, who's married in there? Did you guys write your own vows? Kind of a mix? All right. Let's say you wrote your own vows and you were standing up there with your loved one in front of all of your friends and family, and you looked at your counterpart in the eyes and you said, I will look at our life as a success as long as we're fine. As long as we don't get divorced, I'm going to call this as a win. I don't know about you, maybe it's the millennial part of me, but I believe that my significant other is there to push me forward to live a better life so we can be the best people. And I think your health is the exact same way. Your health should allow you to live your best life and constantly move forward along that line. And maybe if you don't want to go the optimistic route, we'll just look at the pessimistic side of this conversation. Do you guys know what the #1 cause of death in the United States is? Cardiovascular disease. It kills 1 in 5 deaths in the United States are from cardiovascular disease. Number 2 is cancer. Numbers 3 and 4 are stroke and iatrogenic disease, which means it's medical error. Those all can happen to anyone at any time, and most of those, you have no symptoms beforehand whatsoever. So if we talk about symptoms, when it comes to the #1 killer, because the numbers on this are kind of easy, heart disease, cardiovascular disease, the first symptom that 50% of people will have is they have a heart attack, and 50% of those people die instantly. So the question I'm going to ask you guys Because I'm sure we've all heard of that perfectly healthy and fine person who just died of a heart attack. That member from church, that athlete, that person in our community. But the question I'm going to ask you is, do perfectly healthy people die of a heart attack? Or are maybe we saying that they were sick yesterday, there were things developing yesterday, there was a lot going on yesterday, but unfortunately today, they found out the hard way. And the third reason is because of procrastination. Because people always think that I have tomorrow. You don't always have tomorrow. Let's just be real. Best time to take care of your health is 20 years ago. Second best time is right now. Start working on things while you can. Now, if we're going to get to this point of where we're going to talk about health, and you understand that we have a health crisis, I've started to realize there are 7 questions we need to ask ourselves in order to live a healthier life. I am not here to give you answers. I am here to make you think and get you to ask further questions. So question 1, are you designed to be sick or healthy? Healthy. I agree with you. Sometimes it's hard to believe that when 43% of kids in the United States today already have a chronic health-related condition. Chronic health-related conditions, things that we talked about only happen to people older on in life. But 43% of kids already being affected. Or on top of that, 1/3 of all ads that you see in any form come from one specific industry, which is the pharmaceutical industry, which profits most when you believe that you are sick and you cannot live without them. Which, if it worked, I'd have no problem with this conversation, but unfortunately, this is where we are. So if we're going to get, yes, I believe you are healthy, I believe that healthy is living and how you should be living. So next I'm going to ask, is your body stupid or smart? Smart. Your body is incredibly intelligent. Your body is incredibly intelligent. I am a nerd. If you couldn't have picked this up on me so far, I love to read a textbook. It's called Guidance Textbook of Medical Physiology. The more you spend with that, the more you realize that your body is healthy and it's designed to be that way and nothing happens without cause and effect. Good news is, in your body, almost all cells except for microglia, which are like part of your brain, which can last for about 70 years, every other cell in your body will replace itself within 7 years. So good news is, you can completely rebuild your body within 7 years. Bad news is, you can completely rebuild your body within 7 years. It's all on how you want to do it. But I'm going to pressure test this and ask you a very serious question. Have you ever had a fever before? Or for the parents in the room, has your child ever had a fever before? Yes. The purpose of a fever is to help your body fight off an infection. Fair? And why would you want to fight off an infection? So you don't continue to get sicker and sicker and sicker. Now, unless your body gets to 104, 105, 106, 107, a spot where your brain can start to denature and proteins start to fall apart, you are just stopping your body's natural process. So if we all agreed that your body was designed to be healthy and your body is smart, why would you ever take anything to stop your fever if you're beneath that point? You're not a Ford, you're not a Saab, you're not going to overheat. Just to be fair, unless it gets to that 104, 105 point, then it's a medical emergency. Do something a little different. Otherwise, I know it's uncomfortable to have 101 degree temperature, but when you fight it and take something to stop it, you're just making sure you're sick for a longer period of time. Okay. So, fun thing, we talked about fevers a second ago. Body will get a fever because your brain tells your body to produce more of a hormone that's called interferon. Interferon's role is to raise your body's temperature in order for you to fight something off. Now, because of this, I'm going to argue that the most important system for staying healthy in your body is your brain and your nervous system as a whole. Because your nervous system is going to be the master system of your body. It's going to control and coordinate everything that's done. Every muscle, tissue, and organ needs to function with connection to your brain. No part of your body can exist without being connected to your brain to get it to keep functioning from there. So, what protects your nervous system? Now, if you look at your body, your spinal column, your bones of your body have 2 major roles. One is to make sure that you stand up. That way I'm not a blob right up here on the table, but I can actually talk to you guys. The second role of your spine and all of your bones of your body is for protection. Your brain is completely encased by your skull. Your spinal column covers your spinal bones, cover your spinal column. You look at other parts of your body, like your ribs, they're going to protect your lungs and your heart and your stomach to make sure that you keep moving. Now the cool thing is, when it comes to all of these bones, is they develop very specifically. Parents in the room, your child was born in a fetal C-shaped position. This ability to stand up comes over time. Thankfully, because you as a parent put your child on the ground and had them do tummy time, they started to develop the curve in their neck. They started to look around. They started to see more in the world. As their neck curve developed, they started to use more of their arms and had the ability to do so. Their eyesight got better, their taste got better, and everything around this area all developed as that neck curve developed. Then your kids started to go along furniture and continue to move that way. They started to walk, and as they walked, they developed a curve in the lower part of their back. And as that curve developed, their digestion took a whole nother realm, their muscles and their legs got stronger and stronger, and their body continued to develop from there. So when you honor your God-given potential to move and grow as you continue to grow, that's the best part for you and for your children. Just parental advice or grandparent advice, there's a lot of these seats that I see kids being put into that forces them to sit before their body is ready for it. What you are doing is degenerating their body from the beginning. You're laying the groundwork for them to have a problem later on in life. Just kind of a pros up on that. So what happens when there is a break in the armor? What happens if one of your spinal bones isn't moving properly? Now, clinically, the term for this is what's called a subluxation. I'm not going to try to overtalk things. It's when a bone of your spine isn't moving correctly. Now, the interesting thing when a bone of your spine doesn't move correctly is you will start to get inflammation on the nerve around it. The nerve will be more irritated when the bone next to it isn't moving correctly and starts to rub against it. If the bone is stuck, your muscles will start to spasm because they want to pull it back into proper place. The longer something spasms, the more likely you are to have the soft tissue damage. In addition, the longer your body is not moving properly, the more your brain knows it should be moving better. It will prime your body to go into a stress-based response. A sympathetic response, a fight-and-flight response, or an anxiety response. These all come back from the exact same line of what's happening there. So, how would you know if you had a subluxation? There's a lot of different ways. The biggest ways we do it is we use a thermal-based test along your spine to look at where your nerves are inflamed or irritated, to really look at there's poor communication with your body. We take x-rays, we take what's called a motion study to look at how your individual bones are moving at any given period of time. There's other things that we do and other chiropractors in town do as well. There's a test called an HRV test, or a heart rate variability test. I think the newest Apple Watch can measure that. There's Oura rings, Whoop bands, everything to let you look at how your nervous system as a whole is functioning. But ultimately, when you know something's going on, when's the best time to take action with your health? 20 years ago. When would be the second best time? Right now, to make sure that you can continue to heal and grow and develop, not only for the best for yourself now, but for your family moving forward. My name is Dr. John Morelli. I'm with Anchor Chiropractic here in town. I talked a lot about things with health, and maybe open up for some questions in just a second, as I had some questions coming through a minute ago. If anyone is interested in learning more about the office, there's a QR code right up here. Use your camera. You can get some information with that. If anyone liked what I had to say in general, or just liked to hear me speak, I do this type of thing pretty frequently throughout the country, the county. If you want me to come and speak with your place of work, with your place of worship, or with your place of hobby, we can do that. I've spoken at places of work. I've done full conference talks. We can do lunch and learn. If you want to do for your place of worship, I've gone to temples, synagogues, everything and everything. Just to tell people about their God-given healing potential. Or if you want me to come to your kids' football team to talk with the kids or their parents about how to love kids around and how to get you moving, you can always do that too. Go to the QR code, scroll to the bottom, you can request an appointment or request us to be able to do that.
All right, we're going to open up to questions now, but I'd like, John, would you just share just for maybe 2 or 3 minutes about your own personal testimony? How you came to the Lord?
Oh yeah. All right, so there's a lot to this. Okay. What's the easiest way?
In 2 minutes or less.
2 minutes or less. I was raised in a very traditional Catholic household. Catholics? People raised in Catholic households? Oh, you see that those numbers are different. All right, I was raised in a very traditional Catholic household, which I loved and did a lot for me, and then also scared me away from church for a while. Went through some rough times where I avoided that like the plague, and then I realized that God is great all the time. And when we set a rule with our family, it's actually was with my wife and I before we went on our first date. Before we went on our first date, I asked her 3 questions. I said, 1, do you want to have kids? Or actually, I asked her 2 questions. 1, do you want to have kids? And 2, are you okay raising those kids in a church? And if the answer was no, I said, hey, there's just no real point in us going on a date. Which was kind of bold, but it worked out for us. So hopefully your kids can do that type of thing too.
during the discussion, I could have a dozen questions, but I guess I'll ask one because I want to give other people a chance. Do you believe the medical profession, especially the pharmaceutical, is broken?
Yes.
Okay.
I can expand on that a lot more, but I think yes is a pretty
I
straight.
expect it is.
Yeah. I have no problem with it. I think most medical providers do the thing that they think is best for the person. I think the system is designed in a way that isn't best for people.
My question is more on the business side. As you were starting out and building your business, what did you do to gain the trust of the people that didn't really know you and didn't think that they needed to have your service, but trying to build a clientele?
So, what do you do?
What do I do?
Yes.
We are a franchise called Sarasset. So we're a brain balance holistic office. We're the first franchise in Nevada. And so, yeah, we're not medical, so we don't take medical insurance. So we're just want to help our community. Yeah.
From a business aspect, I talked with everyone as much as humanly possible for a very long period of time. I would go anywhere that people would let me sit at the table and I would talk with them. I would go to anything. I've been at craft fairs. I've been at anything and everything to talk to people about their health. And as time's gone on, we've figured out better places for us to be, but just to have the conversation. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm the only person that believes that the medical system isn't designed for people to be healthy. So the more you can talk with people, you realize how many other people are right in that same boat with yourself.
Hey, Doc. So, my parents' generation, when we look back, that there were people like smoking in hospitals. So, and there's a lot of, following on Richard's question, there's probably more skepticism with medicine and healthcare today than I know of. What do you think that you see today that medical people are doing that 50 years from now will look back and say, I can't believe they were doing that or practicing that way?
So this is very personal for me. I gave you my personal story of what got me into the profession and what really made me turn things around. I have family. Half my aunts are nurses. My mom works for the largest health insurance company in the United States. My cousin is the lead cancer researcher for UCLA. I am surrounded by the standard medical view further outside of my day-to-day interactions. There are a lot of things that they do that they believe to be best. The thing that I find most interesting is the spinal fusion conversation, which really led this whole thing to start. Even if you believe that the things I talk about are fringe and borderline, WebMD is pretty much the most straightforward medical system website you can find. And WebMD will tell you that no spinal surgery, unless there is radiating symptoms, is beneficial. Yet they are done constantly. And I couldn't tell you how many people I've seen in the office who were told me that they needed to have it for some reason, and I will look over their x-rays and see nothing that supports that information. In fact, it's standard that every individual before a fusion should get 3 to 6 months of some type of conservative therapy, whether that be chiropractic or physical therapy. But most surgeons and most people I've seen here in town completely bypass that conservative step first and jump directly into a major intervention.
I love that, but coincidentally, I was told 25 years ago when I was 24 years old that I needed to have a spinal fusion. I mean, we didn't set this up. This just happened. That's about 24 years old because I had a protruding disc in my spine that the only answer to stop the pain was fusion. And I was like, that's ridiculous. And then now, today, if I stay moderately active, like exercise, and don't get any more fat, like I have no pain.
So I was just discussing with someone earlier. I am so sorry. When MRIs first started to be a major technology, they took MRIs of everybody just to see what was out there. And depending on what decade of life you're in, roughly that percentage is the likelihood that you had a disc bulge of some form. If you're in your 20s, 20% of those people will have a disc bulge. If you're in your 80s, 80% of those people have disc bulge. These are rough statistics. Please don't quote me on this for forever. Roughly. Now, most of those people are asymptomatic. They only found out because the MRI was taken, which means when you can live without symptoms, it's because you do things that take care of yourself. There are people who it sequesters and it breaks off and it's a very different thing, but for most people, you can live with a disc bulge and be completely fine and never go.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. So I tried to get to you earlier. I'm an RN by profession, and I can tell you that going up against the healthcare profession is difficult, as I've worked with a lot of doctors. And internally, I may disagree, because they'll say, we're going to do, I want these labs drawn, I want to do it, and I want this medication given. And inside I'm like, but okay, but that's not really, but it's just what they do. So I believe in holistic therapy and modalities. Have you come up against people, healthcare professionals, who look at chiropractic business as snake oil?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Because I happen to be a nurse, but I do like holistic therapies. I believe that God has given us everything that we need in the earth to use for our health and well-being. So out of respect, because they're doctors, they go to school and they have all this learned information, I listen. But I don't always take their advice. I've had a stroke, I just had one 4 months ago, major CVA, right side. And they wanted to give me statins, but my labs didn't look. I said, why? Are my levels bad, cholesterol level? No, it's just what we do. So I'm probably the worst patient, but because of you, I came today because I'm very, very much a fan of doctors who actually look at nutrition, look at lifestyle, and say, let's try God's way. So how do you handle that?
It's kind of both. I'm going to play this both sides. So I'm going to let you know, it's been a couple years since we ran statistics. But RNs was the #1 job we saw for a very long period of time. Because you guys are on the front line and you see how broken so much of it is, that is our most common person that we work with. That being said, I like to save my energy in life, and I pick battles that are appropriate. I will have conversations with people, and I will be part of this. But sometimes, if I know that they are against me from the beginning, my goal is never to win over that person. My goal is to talk with everyone else who's around us and make sure that they know what's beneficial for them. And I think that works for just about everything in life. Just pick your battles.
We have time for one more question. Anyone? Going once? How about a big hand for Dr. John Morelli? Before we close, I just wanted to, number one, wish everyone a very, very merry and blessed Christmas. We have, for the next 2 months, I'll tell you our speakers are going to be. In January, our speaker is the pastor at Fervent Church. His name is Jimmy Morellis. And he's going to talk about the importance of just staying strong in the Lord for 2025. With all the changes and all the upheaval that we've been having the last few years, he's got a message of hope. And I think you're all going to love it. And then in February, we're having a speaker come back who spoke probably our second lunch here at the Ahern. His name is Luis Oliveira. And he owns Samba Latte. You probably have heard of Samba Latte. There's a few locations here in town. They're also in the process of opening 3 locations at the airport. He's going to talk about how effectively to witness at your place of work. He does it just so naturally, and he's going to share just his approach to sharing the gospel with the people that come into your purview in business and ministry. So we hope that you'll enjoy both of those. At this time, I'd like Jean Nakanishi of Osaka. Thank you for contributing one of our prizes today, Jean. And Gene is also on our board for CBN, and I've asked him to close in prayer. So, Gene.
Sure, thank you. Father God, we just come before you today, and we realize the season that we're in, it should be joyous, peaceful, but not everybody is feeling that spirit. I know that. We have a lot of people hurting in this room today, and I know that you need to come down and touch these people, Lord. Touch their marriages, touch their relationships with their children, heal those relationships, and heal them physically and emotionally too, Lord. We have people in here that are sick, that have problems, and I know that today's tremendous, our speaker today talked about things like this, but we also realize, Lord, that you know where we're sick in places that we don't even know, and doctors don't even know, but we realize that you're the great healer here, Lord, and you can come down and just touch that person and just heal them in an instant if it's your will. And we also know that sometimes we have to wait too. And you put us through things that, in these valleys where you're shaping us, Lord. So during this time, we just ask that we just have an ordered life, Lord. Ordered meaning that we know that in the Old Testament and New Testament, the most important things that the Bible, that you have told us is that we love you with all our heart, mind, and soul. And the second is that we love people. And especially in this season that we have right now, Lord, we just ask that you help us to love everybody, but look at everybody as a child of you, Lord, and just love on them, Lord. Show them the love of Christ in our businesses, especially for owners of businesses, to our employees, and to the people that come into our businesses, Lord. We just ask that you just give us the face of you, of Jesus. So when they see that, there's a difference. There's a light in the room, and it'll attract them to come to you, to turn to you, and to be saved. You promised, Lord. All we have to do is look to you, and we're saved. So during this season, let's not forget that that's the most important thing, to be ordered in our life. You first, and everyone else. Just love. And we're grateful, Lord, that we can come together as businessmen here, and we can do things that we can affect the people around us. And I just pray for those people that are hurting today in here, and those that are sick. And I just ask that you heal all those relationships during this season. And we offer this prayer in your loving Son's name, Christ Jesus. Amen.
Amen.